Hut Hut, let's party. Hut Hut podcast. Chris Lindstrom, one of my favorite teammates of all time. What's up, buddy? Talk to me about life after the season. What you been up to?
Not much. Just kind of go through the cycles of the season now. After I think one of the biggest things was like it was hard finding routine. And that's like the biggest thing. Like obviously vets like yourself, and I've had lucky to be around great guys who kind of told you, like you got to establish a routine. And now, heading into year five, I feel like I've really found that. So as soon as the season's over, took 2 weeks off, kind of just like drove up, saw my family, kind of settled down a little bit, and then started training lightly for 2 weeks, just kind of mobility kind of stuff, get the body back after 17 weeks. And then kind of just been poking around, doing stuff around the house, training, and then, a couple trips here and there sprinkled in, and then right ahead in OTAs.
I love it, man. I remember those days, especially having a bunch of kids. I would always do the OTAs and stuff on my own, so I'd travel back and forth. But I
Mm-hmm.
was I was telling my wife the other day, Alish, I'm like, I had it down to a science. Exactly what I did in January, which was nothing.
Yeah.
I didn't make the playoffs very often, just like you haven't, unfortunately. Hopefully, now that salary cap's loosened up and Arthur and Terry have gotten to go to work, y'all can really start building this thing. And I know you want to play for Arthur your whole career.
Yeah, absolutely.
And winning keeps head coaches in their positions. That's just the reality of the league, right? Arthur knows that. You know that. I know that. So hopefully now that they've got to do things, with a little bit of availability money wise, it'll start going in the right direction, and you won't be so free the first week of January going forward. But I went to the playoffs 3 out of my 11 years, I think, maybe two. But I knew what to do in January. I knew what to do in February. Then March, it really cranked up. And then OTAs was what it was. And then it's like, all right, now let me make sure I don't get fat before training camp, but also enjoy my family these last few weeks. And then training camp. And then I didn't even set my alarm. I set my alarm just in case. But on Mondays, boom, got it. Tuesdays, got it. I mean, I can recite you the 11 steps of my Wednesday during NFL football season.
Yep.
And now it's like I can't get it right, man. I can't figure out a true schedule.
Hmm.
What is this, April? So I'm 15 months into retirement, and life's great. The gym's great. God has blessed me, but I'm still trying to find like I redo my schedule once a week, twice a week. My wife's like, "Got it figured out yet?" And I'm like, "I'm trying, babe. What day do I take her to breakfast or lunch? And what day's our date
Yep.
night? Date night was Friday nights. My whole career, it was easy.
Yep.
Now the kids are so busy, and I'm not having to kind of schedule around NFL life, so it's been fun getting it all figured out. But I feel you, bro. That year long schedule, once you have it dialed in, and by year 5 or 6 you really get it dialed in, you're gonna be a fine tuned machine. Now that's awesome. What trips you and the bride taking?
So we did it's kind of the cheap way. I kind of did all like company trips. So like I was super blessed to be in the Pro Bowl. So it was my first time. So we went out to Vegas. We did 6 days out there. So I did 3 days just me and Maddie. So we did 3 days just us, and then my family flew out kind of because like I'm one of six. So like like true just like middle class family, and like we couldn't go on vacations with like eight of us. Like it was go to Cape Cod for like the week for the day. So like taking family vacations is like super meaningful. So everybody came out to Vegas, was there for the Pro Bowl, which was super exciting. And it takes your whole family, it takes a full like community for personal achievements. So like I wanted to celebrate that with them. And then what was next? Oh, so then I was, again, super fortunate this year to be the Walter Payton nominee. So was able to go out to the Super Bowl. Took me and my fiance, took Maddie out there, and so we went there. And then I took the two player tickets that you have availability for. Bought those for my dad and my brother. So my dad and my older brother came out. Kind of really enjoyed. We went out to Sedona, which was a lot of fun. Did like 5 days out there, and then like we were just talking about, like the PA trip out to Maui. So did the first time out in Hawaii. Um, Really incredible. It's really breathtaking. So that's kind of what we got. And then it's been 5 weeks now where I've kind of really hammered it back in. So I'm heading into OTAs really in shape.
So now we're in football mode. uh, I'll never forget when I first became a rep, it's like, yes, I get to take my wife to Maui for free, and because she's always on me about taking her to Hawaii, right? We've done the
Yep.
Caribbean. When I was younger, it was straight United States, baby. We were on that low budget first contract vacations. We're getting in the car and we're driving, and then as I got a little older, the Caribbean became a thing that we would do, just me and her, husband and wife trips. But I wanted my kids to, kind of like you're saying, man, I wanted my kids to always have those blue collar vacations, right? Like, I rented a house in Jacksonville for this June. It's not even on the beach. It's like, there's no guarantee that my kids are all going to grow up and be able to go to the Caribbean whenever they want. So it's like, I want to build those cool family vacations that, like, most blue collar families are used to. A house down the street from the beach. You got to ride a golf cart to get there. You don't just walk
Yeah.
out the back deck and hit the sand. So we're doing
Right.
that this summer. But the Maui thing, I was excited. I'm like, yes, I'm a rep now. I think they always go to Hawaii. And the minute I retire, they go back to Hawaii. So I'm going to call Don and Dee and tell them I need some first class tickets to Maui for me and my bride for my service those 6 or 7 years as a rep, because I was always in Arizona, and I think we even went to Orlando one year. It's like, what are we doing, man? But that's all right. Good for you, Maui, baby. First
I'm
time.
gonna put it. I'm gonna put it up on one of the things on the agenda board for next year is to allow former reps to come on the trip to educate guys. Educate.
That'd
We'll
be
get them.
awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. Good for you. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Or just put me on the list. You don't have to be all the
Yeah.
former guys. Just be like, for some reason, I feel like this guy needs to be here.
Well, hey,
That's
sign a
all.
1 day or 10-day contract like they got in the NBA. Do that right around the end of the season.
I bet you if I called Arthur, he'd let me pull that one off. I'm gonna call him. Is it Maui again next year?
I'm not sure. Not
I
sure.
doubt it.
I hope it is. I mean, I haven't. I'm not super traveled, but I mean, it's gonna be hard to beat that. I mean, it was incredible.
Was it really? So I should definitely take my bride, even though now I have to pay for it myself.
Yeah, absolutely stunning. We
The
did
whole
the
family.
road to Hana was awesome. It's like a it's like 2.5 hours of driving, but it's like 12 hours. Like it's a full day if you do the stops, and I was able to do all the stops. It was me, Hennessy, and both our fiancés, and it was so much fun. It was like a beautiful day. Got to drive around. There was like all the cliffs and stuff where you're like taking a corner, and you have to beep before you go around the corner because it's a blind turn and it's one lane. But it was super fun.
That's awesome, man. So if you were me, would you do the whole family or just do me and Alicia?
There's definitely so your kids are old enough now where they'd enjoy the stuff. So like we did snorkeling and stuff like that, where it's like actually fun and like the appreciation value would definitely be there. But I can see that'd be a super romantic thing. So you got to find that fine balance of like a husband and wife one-on-one time versus taking the kids. But I think there's definitely stuff to do that they'd be able to enjoy.
I've always said that before Brody goes off to play college football, I want to do Atlantis in the Bahamas at least once as a family. So I think we'll do the Atlantis as a family. Now that we're on a fixed income, no more ball checks. I got a budget for it and see if Alicia will let me borrow some of her money. But Atlantis with the family, and then I think the Hawaii deal, I might just do me and Alicia for like our 20th anniversary or something, which is not that far away, believe it or not. Ain't that crazy? I've been married
It's
16 years,
awesome.
bro.
That's
Four
incredible. It's
four more
really awesome
years.
too.
4 more years, I'll be able to kick Brody out of the house to go play college football. He'll get off the payroll, and then I could take Alicia to Hawaii. That's the plan.
Wait till he goes. The biggest shock for me going to college football was just the time schedule of everything. And like holidays don't mean anything. Normal time off doesn't like started doing. Once you start making a bowl, it's actually good prep for the NFL because like once you made a bowl game in college, like you're practicing Christmas Day,
Yep.
like unless you're living within like 45 minutes of your family, like you're not spending Christmas with your family. So like
Yep.
one of the things we would always do is like that 2 week break that you normally get at the end of the season. So for us at BC, we'd play a slightly after Christmas bowl game. You're doing Christmas at the bowl game, and then you celebrating your holidays on it's Christmas Day for you, but it's like December 29th. Now my family through the NFL season and everybody's schedule, we're celebrating Christmas like January 10th. So it's like it's one of those things that once you get in that like Division I football schedule, it's like all your normal schedule just gets thrown out the window.
The life of a football player, man. That's why. Not that I'm against guys that do it, but that's why I refuse to coach. at the collegiate or NFL level. And I was so passionate about Triple F because it was kind of the happy median of getting to stay around athletics and mentor young people and be around ball. And I helped coach at the high school, and I still love football. Don't get me wrong. I held a tight end meeting yesterday. I gave them some of that tough love. Poor kids. They probably want rid of me already after one meeting. But no, man, I love the game. I love ball. But like you said, it's just the family aspect is just so hard to balance. And then the problem is you normalize it, and you get institutionalized a little bit, as we all know. So it's like, man, I don't want to miss Christmas for the next 30 years of my life. And what's crazy is, it's funny you say that. And yeah, Brody, obviously, if he decides to stay here at Tennessee, that's right down the road. But I don't know, man. I've always felt like getting away from Mama is always not. I don't want him to go to California unless he wants to. He can go wherever he wants. But getting away from Mama for boys, I think sometimes is a good thing. But it's up to him. Whatever he wants to do. He's a big, pretty sucker. And then Brock will be right behind him, so we'll see. But at Marshall, I played in one bowl game, the Little Caesars Bowl in Detroit, Michigan, baby. We took a bus because they couldn't afford a flight, I swear. All right. So I got kicked out of Tennessee because I was an idiot. And I get to Marshall, I feel like I'm in Afghanistan. All right. I mean, it was just like, what? And I went back for their pro day a few weeks ago. It's a palace now compared to when I was there. We didn't even have an indoor facility when I was there. So, and it gets pretty cold in Huntington, so you're out there at 5 a.m. mat drills, and there's ice on the field, and it was awesome. But Marshall was a far cry from SEC, where I'd been recruited out of high school. So anyways, we weren't very good. Went to one bowl game in 5 years. Well, at our bowl game, we took a bus from Huntington, West Virginia to Detroit, Michigan. And Brody was in a high chair in the front of the bus with Alicia. So I had a family. It was unbelievable, man. I'm pretty sure Alicia might have been pregnant. It's like, holy, my college life was so different than anybody else's when I really
what year was that in your career there?
So when I got kicked out of Tennessee, I transferred to Marshall, obviously, and I was ineligible. It was different rules and all that back then, so I was ineligible. So I redshirted the year I was ineligible, which was 2006, and then Brody was born the next year. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I'm trying to think. Maybe Amanda was born, or Alicia was about to pop one. But it would have been my junior year we played in the bowl game. We didn't make a bowl game my senior year because I went ahead and went down to IMG and started training for the Combine super early. I was one of the first ones down there. But, yeah, junior year of college, so 2009 probably. Little Caesars, baby, Detroit, Michigan, my bowl experience. Like I said, a little different than Boston College or Tennessee college.
Do you remember what your bowl gift was?
It wasn't much, buddy. Let's put it that way. I think it was the first year Little Caesars actually kind of bought into that bowl. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, it was far from the Rose Bowl. Let's put it that way. I didn't go home with PlayStations and headphones, and we might have got a Little Caesars coin, and I think I got like a watch or something like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, so. Free vacations. I used to always piggyback our vacations around the NFL stuff. Free clothes. You're living it up, man. Good for you. Good for you. Well, let's talk a little bit about our time in Atlanta. 1 year, the end. Obviously, that's how we met. And just the way I gravitated towards you, man, you were just one of those guys. And there's been, 4 or 5 over my career that is just, there was something about you. And have you ever heard my Lee Smith trifecta?
I probably have, but I have CTE, so you're gonna have to give it to me again.
All right, we won't talk about most of my one-liners on this show. We're trying to be kid-friendly, so I'm trying to adapt to life after football.
Yeah, you're gonna have to adapt definitely a lot of it.
See, I've been praying my butt off, man. I haven't said one cuss word on this pod so far, and I'm not going to. If I do, we'll leave it because it's real. But I'm trying to really, really fix my language to lead these young people here and trust God to help me with this life after football. But, man, oh, man, I was an animal for a long time, as you know. But, anyways, this is the clean Lee Smith trifecta, not one of my crazy ones. It's a teammate that I would want on my team, number one. There was a lot of guys like that over the years. A lot of guys I loved, wanted them on my team. But sometimes when they left the facility, it's not somebody I would want necessarily to marry my daughter, right? But I sure liked them as a teammate because on 3rd and 1 they were pretty good football players. So boom, it was a teammate, a guy I would want on my team, somebody I would trust in a bar fight, and at the same time, I would let them marry my daughter. And Chris Lindstrom is one of the very, very, very few teammates I ever had that hit the trifecta of all three. And I know it's weird that you're a 26, 27-year-old man. My daughter's 12, so I'm not trying to be weird with it. I'm just saying in general. And you're about to marry your beautiful bride, which I can't wait till you guys come down here and visit me and hang out with me and Alish. But if Amanda Smith was a 25-year-old girl and Chris Lindstrom asked me to marry my daughter, it would be one of the happiest days of my life, man, for real. And I mean that. So the trifecta, brother, you hit it, and there's very few people that did. So I'll always cherish our time together.
Yeah, thank you, Lee. I mean, well, one, that means the world to me. And the other thing was too, like, I think we had an instant connection too, just the way we go about everything, right? And so, like, obviously, offensive linemen and tight ends, like, there's always like distance. I feel like when you get in a pro or even college locker rooms, like, offensive linemen and defensive backs are not really, interacting a lot. Like you see them around the thing, but like, I think we had the kind of like to the first point you were saying, like the accountability aspect of it is like, we're in meetings and you see the way guys go about things. And so I instantly first one had a respect for how you went about everything. And like, and a guy, you were in what, year 11 at that point, and like,
Yep.
you're there at OTAs, grinding as hard as you can and putting everything in. And like, Arthur brought you in for everything that you represent. And I think one, like you share that with everyone, and that really identity um, of whatever, of what, we're still trying to build. And you represented that to the most. So that was really cool. And then the style that you played with, outside of being hilarious and not this clean PG-13 version, but the guy getting after it in camp for 2 plays and then taking the rest of camp practice off, but then playing as hard as you can during the game was always something I loved. And then that's that first like opening bridge, you know what I mean? And then you get to really know somebody and love them, which is definitely the case.
I love that, man. I was on 3 teams. Really, you can really call it 4 teams because when I went back to Buffalo for my second stint, I was in Oakland for 4 years, and Jerry Hughes was the only player left on the roster, which
Wow.
Go ahead and fast forward 4 years from right now, and, we'll see how many teammates you have that you have today, right? It's the NFL.
Yeah, it's
And
crazy.
they had multiple coaching changes in Buffalo, which I have zero fear that you're going to have a coaching change just with the way Arthur and Terry do things. I'm excited for you guys. But every time I went to a new team, I always felt like, you know what, man, there's this. I was going to be me because if you're not genuine, there's just no chance. You have no chance to lead. God blessed everybody with different characteristics, but I always thought, you know what, man, this little 2%, I wish I would have done differently in my last stint as a leader or a player or a pro or maybe just the way I acted in the training room or whatever. There was always something little that I was like, man, I'm gonna fix that with my first impression at this new team because I feel like I could have led better or done better, and I leaned on a lot of high-level military guys, number one. Those were kind of my go-to, and then the Charles Woodsons and Justin Tucks and all the guys from when I was young in Buffalo, just kind of picked their brain, and that was fun that one year in Atlanta, getting to come kind of help you guys and try to be the best version of myself and what I knew was going to be my last imprinting on a locker room and on the young players in our league. So to hear you say that, bro, fires me up because that's why I came down there, was to help Arthur and hopefully leave some little small impact on you guys. So I love it. I know some of it was probably just stuff you sit in meetings and laugh about, telling stories about my antics. But that's awesome, bro. That's awesome. Well, let's get to the fun stuff. You're a really rich man, my friend, and nobody deserves it more than you. But seriously, I know how humble you are. I know that you just became the highest paid guard in the history of our game, and you're still mooching off free NFL vacations. So you're wired the right way and wired just like me. So I know you don't want to talk numbers and gloat or anything like that, but with the way you're wired, man, and you remind me of myself a lot, there is this personal pride when you try to do everything the right way and you just all you care about is like you don't care what the opponent thinks about you. You don't care what the coach for the Seattle Seahawks thinks about you. I know you hope that they respect you and think you're great, but I've watched you, and your passion is your teammates, and
Right.
making sure that you never let down those brothers that are inside the facility that you currently work at. So when you get
Mhm.
rewarded for that, it's special, man. It is. And just how did it feel signing that dotted line, knowing that you essentially, became the most rewarded player ever at your position in our game, which it won't last long. That might change next week. We know how that works.
Yep.
But to really, really reset the market and become such a valued piece of an organization that you love, that drafted you. How does it feel, man? Just talk to me a little bit about it. Not necessarily the money numbers, but just the feeling you got getting rewarded for something you've worked so hard for.
Yeah, it's surreal one, and then like it doesn't feel real, and like I don't know if you've experienced this like in your whole career, right? I think of myself, and I see myself, as a fat kid that was the worst kid, on our youth sports team, like and just like one of the great things and you know this that Arthur always talks about is like be in the moment, do it day to day, like grind every single day, and so that's kind of really just was my mindset throughout and then through college and in the pros, and not really pick your head up. But then was super fortunate to get drafted. Was drafted, in the first round, and that came with expectations. Outside expectations, but then in my to myself, you have that sense of like, you got to prove to yourself that you're a good player in this league. Like that's just your mindset going in. Like your goals and stuff shift as the older you get. Like, you college, all right, you want to start whatever, get to the NFL, then you want to be a good player in the league. And so that's what my goal was. And this is another reason why I love you is just like, I always was, the most important thing to me was to be accountable to the guys next to me. So like, I wanted to know that Caleb Bengary, Drew Dahlman or Hennessy or Alex Mack early in my career, they knew that even if I got my ass kicked on a play, they knew I was giving my all. They knew I was prepared. They knew I know what was going on, and they knew I was giving my best effort. Like that was always number one. Like, and I think it's one of the coolest things that Arthur's done is like there's real accountability to preparation, and then you begin to love guys, and you can really trust them on a professional level, especially when guys show up with that mindset every single day. And I have fortunate to have great role models like yourself. Jake Matthews is probably one of the best professionals in the entire league of just showing up, doing your work, doing your business. And then to get the contract, like it's incredible. Like, and you kind of hit on it that like, it's not going to last. And I hope it doesn't last. Like, I hope somebody's able to stair step me and, get more. Cause like, you don't get to this position like you're standing on the shoulder of giants is pretty much what it is. And there's so many great offensive linemen before me. And there's so many guys in the league. Like Zach Martin is, one of my favorite, players to watch and, role models really of how he goes out, and it's somebody I admire. And then, he set the market. There's so many guys and that give you the leverage to get the contract. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And that's something that I'm super appreciative of. And the biggest thing is it doesn't feel real. And, the best thing is like, staying yourself, not change. But it doesn't change anything. Right. Like, and you had this, like, once you were 7, 8 years in your career, the Lee Smith that was at Marshall is, the same quality person, same day to day. Like nothing has changed. I still woke up, still at my house with the 2 dogs, go for a walk and everything. But, there's super fortunate, and I'm always appreciative of. I know how there's so much work you put in it, but there's luck to get to where you are too. Like you got breaks, you didn't get injured at certain times. Everything kind of worked out. But for that, just super appreciative and thankful for.
That's awesome, man. And that's what I'll say is like Sean Payton, for example. I've played against Sean multiple times. I don't know Sean. I hope Sean had respect for me as a player. I hope Sean thinks I'm a decent person. But really, it doesn't truly matter to me. Like at my core, I hope it. And people in this community here in Knoxville is a perfect example. This is my home. I hope they all think and truly believe, man, Lee Smith's a good guy. Lee Smith loves his wife. Lee Smith adores his kids and will do anything in the world to be the best father for his children and husband to his wife and leader of these kids that are at the gym. I hope people, when they think about Lee Smith, I hope those are the things they think. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to be, I don't care what anybody else thinks, in any decent person. I don't think that's true. I want people to most importantly think of me as a man of God, husband, father, all those things. But, and once again, I hope Sean Payton and, whoever, Bill Parcells, all these guys that are football guys that I've never known or met or played for, I hope they respected me as a player, don't get me wrong. But it doesn't hold a candle to what I wanted from my teammates, man. And when you watch the film, you can tell which guys are wired that way, because just the finish and just their body language, the way they operate in between the whistles, you can tell which guys are just terrified to let their teammates down. And it shows on tape, it shows in the locker room, and you are the epitome of that, my friend, and you deserve every penny you got, which it is a lot of pennies, old buddy. I mean, hello, mama, good for you. Fires me up. When it gets to be 3 digits, old buddy, that's the old Lee Smith would have called that a certain kind of money, but we're gonna refrain from that and lead these kiddos down here. But buddy, I'm so happy for you, man, for real. Like, it fires me up,
Yeah.
and that's what's so cool about you. Like, when I got my first deal in Oakland, everybody's like, man, he's just a blocking tight end. I can't believe he got paid that much. Da 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 da. Well, now you got dudes just doubling my money that don't catch that many balls, and it fires me up. I love it. I love that I hope blocking tight ends, and I know the league's changing, so there's not as many left, but I hope guys get 10 times as much as I did. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about, man. To hear you say that
Part of the reason why, there's not that many left, but then the value of guys that can do that is only going up.
Yeah.
If you got a guy who's willing to throw his nose in there and to grind it out, that's only, that value goes up. There's always going to be a role for guys like that who are going to grind stuff out.
If nothing else, Arthur Smith will hire him.
Yeah, for sure. We'll take all of them.
No question. If nothing else, there's always going to be 2 or 3. When I came in the league, it was 15 teams. Now it's not 15, but there's also not that many of us around. So the 3, 4, 5 guys that are all about that business and that action, worst case, they can all just go play for the Falcons. Arthur will take them all.
Yep.
When we were down in Miami, and there's that picture of me sitting on the bench. I'm sure you've seen it when I was contemplating my life.
It is the greatest photo. You got to show that up on the podcast one of these days. It is one of the greatest photos in history. But I have that imprinted in my mind. Like, I know it's right in the back of the tight end's room. Like, it is in my mind, that photo.
It is terrible. I literally have never felt like that in my life. All right. And then on top of that, we're in 13 personnel in 2 minutes at the end of the game. Remember that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? And then, of course, we just throw it up to Kyle and let him go be better than everybody else. But I'm like, what are we doing, Arthur? I've never been in a 2-minute drive in my life. It's year 11. Yeah. I can't breathe. Like, please let me come out of the game. Nope, 13 personnel. I mean, I'll never forget seeing that 13 signal in 2 minutes. I'm like, holy moly! I'm not going to leave this field alive. It's awesome.
I think it was like week 6 too. So like week 6, what's that? Like second week of October. So you're like, all right, like hopefully it's cooled down a little bit. Like 1 o'clock kickoff, 3 hours in the sun. It's like 85 with 40% humidity. You're just dying by mid third quarter.
It was awful, and we just did training camp down there, and it was fine. But just the intensity and energy and adrenaline that jumps in your body on game day compared to a training camp practice just changes everything. And you're not used to, and it ain't like Atlanta's cool. It ain't like I was in Buffalo. There was just something about that day. Maybe because I was old and fat and we were in 13 personnel in 2-minute drive. That probably didn't help anything. But Lord help me. Yeah, that picture, we need to share it. We'll figure out a way for me and you to post that picture together. I'll throw it on one of our social media channels, and you can be the first one to make fun of me. Lord, it was awful. Well, listen, man.
Have you ever seen like anytime a news article is about you, right? Like they throw some photo up there, you're like, why did you select that one? Like of all the things, like I have some like, so I broke my foot right my rookie year, and I came back after 12 weeks. It was one of those things like we talked about earlier, like. You don't know how to manage being a pro until you've been in that situation. It's like I had never been injured. So I got so fat. I was 329. Like, you know me, I'm barely 300 pounds to play, the last 3 years I've been barely 300 pounds playing out there. So I'm 329. I'm so fat. I'm, even more baby faced than I am now at 20, whatever I was, 21, 22. And like, that's the photo that's like constantly used. And I'm just like, oh God, like every time I see it, like, ooh,
There, there's one of me that I've seen. It's like one of my eyes is like not open. I look like I'm drunk. It's horrible, and I'm not a good looking guy, anyways. So, but yes, that picture they use all the time.
yeah,
I think that picture Arthur has is only like the Falcons media, maybe, because Arthur is the one that showed it to me. I don't think
yeah.
it's like hit the web, but maybe I should go ahead and share it, and then it'll probably be used forever to talk about. Uh, Todd Downing, one of my buddies, who was the coordinator in Tennessee last year, um, and now he's up in New York with the Jets. He sent me a video earlier of it was a pass play back in the day when I was playing for the Bills. It was one of the Lee Smith specials. Like we're on the 4-yard line, I blocked the Sam backer and then leak out for a touchdown. Well, I slipped and fell. Ball falls right behind my head. It's an easy touchdown. Well, I mean, I literally slip and fall down. And him and Nathaniel Hackett up there just talking trash, just roasting me for giving up. So we probably had to kick a field goal, cost us 3 points, all because I tripped over my own feet. So yeah, man, the pictures of me and some of the funny stuff throughout my career, it's like easily picked on, which is awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. We get to make people laugh.
The
Well,
one
let's.
of my favorite things too is one of your so you scored that touchdown in New York your last year in Atlanta, and you told me during the week, you're like, all right, Chris, I scored this touchdown. I'm giving you the ball to spike it. I'm like, all right, Lee, like got it. Like as an offensive lineman, I think I've touched the football maybe in that my entire time in the NFL like three times ever, in a game. And you score, you give me the ball, I go to spike it, I bring it up, ball just drops right out of my hand. I got like the sweaty palm, everything. So I ended up just volleyball spiking it. You're like, buddy, that's the worst thing I've ever seen. I'm like, Lee, I know that's bad. The worst part is I'm walking off the field. Rich McKay, the CEO of the Falcons, comes up to me. He goes, Chris, so happy we won, but that was the worst spike I've seen in my years of football. I was like, oh, damn, like it was that bad.
That's the best. Did you say your dad was talking trash when you got in the locker room too?
Oh, yeah, my dad like called me. He's like, what are you doing? Like, no, so I'm a big high five, give a guy a headbutt and a hug, and move on. I think my spiking career is over, but I appreciate you giving me the opportunity.
I love that I was your one and only Spike. So that's what's funny is my dad played offensive line in the NFL. He was a journeyman, worried about getting cut every day of his career. Didn't set the league on fire by any stretch. I sure didn't either. He was just a grimy kind of swing tackle, right? Well, he used to watch this clip, and not like every night before he would go to bed, but multiple times in my childhood I can remember him watching. It was on a VCR tape. I can remember him watching this clip when he played for the Cowboys. Herschel Walker let him spike the ball,
Yeah,
and I just remembered how much that meant to him. So I always tried to find. There was always one lineman on every team I was on that was my guy, like my number one guy. I would have let Jake spike it if he wasn't so boring. We got to get Jake. We got to get Jake on here. So see
you
if we
got
can
to
get
get
him
him.
get him on here. Let him. Plus, especially with Brody playing tackle now, I'm gonna let Brody live with Jake for a week every summer and let Jake love on him and mentor him. Every time you move a position inside, the spacing, everything just changes. So sometimes I'll
Yeah,
show him certain things, and I'm like, dang man, that's just all kind of tight end movement, and just trying to understand exactly how the tackle moves. So I'm gonna probably come see Jake, get him on the pod. But I always had my favorite O lineman in the room, and those are the. I didn't get to score very often, so when I did, I tried to find my boys. But it was a horrible spike. There is no doubt about it. You were so
awful.
excited, man. You were so excited. You've never been there before. It's okay.
Yeah, no. From now on, if I ever, I'll probably pass it. Oh, there's a clip. I gotta text it to you, right? So Tyler Algier, awesome kid, awesome kid. Like had a tremendous year too. He scores a touchdown this year, hands the ball to Drew Dahlman. Dahlman looks at it, takes it, hands it right back to him. Like, I don't know what to do with this. And just like gave it right back to him. Oh, we're watching it on the All 22, laughing so hard just
That
on
is
Monday. Like he
that
was
is
so
awesome.
awkward. Like I don't know what to do.
That is awesome. That's the best. Like the Monday morning, and y'all won the game. Hopefully that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, the best is when you win and you can just destroy each other for all that kind of stuff in film. because it's just a little tense after losses, obviously. So you don't have as much fun just killing each other for all the little falling, like the lineman. Like at least once a game, somebody's gonna fall funny, somebody's gonna do something like that, somebody's gonna trip out of their stance, or even the jump off sides in a horrible moment. It's just so much better after wins when you can make light of that stuff. But that does not surprise me at all with Dahlman. That is awesome.
When you get rolled up on too, where you
Oh,
because you don't know what's going on. Like you're in your own personal world, and like when you're in the game, you're so dialed in and so zeroed in. Like you're just operating in your own world. And like there's so many times, if something bad happens, something good happens, like I have no idea. Like you're just so focused on your assignment.
yep.
And when you, like you said, like those Mondays, like you'll see a guy get rolled up on, and you're just like, oh my god, like how are you still like walking? Or like you said, something's funny, somebody trips. Like my favorite is cut attempts. Like cutting is great, especially inside the tackle box. But when you miss, it is so ugly. God,
Oh,
is it ugly? It's so fun to watch on Monday after a win.
and especially the bigger a guy is, the gigantic guys that cut and miss, it just looks horrible.
Yeah,
It just looks horrible, and then they're going to get crushed. Yeah, it's like those, like you said, those. Just when I watch games now, which I don't watch much football, I can't lie to you. But like I'll watch you guys every once in a while because I know you all. I'll watch the Bills because a lot of my buddies are still up there. But outside of that, I don't watch much football. But I tell Alicia, because I've never sat and watched football in my life.
mm-hmm.
I'll tell Alicia, I don't know, and knock on wood, but I don't know how dudes don't get hurt more. It's
Yeah,
unbelievable, truly, watching a game when you've only been a player and just seeing the way guys get hit, the way guys get all game long. And it's like, I know our bodies are conditioned and all that fun stuff, but it's like we're a little bit like Tarzan. Like if you've been raised in the jungle, your body gets conditioned to it, I guess. But man, oh man, it's crazy. But yeah, those funny clips are the best. Well, let's talk about this. So I am fired up about figuring out a really cool way to pour into the youth O-line community.
mm-hmm.
And not only that, but these combine guys, I'm trying to major in O line specifically. If we get a D lineman here, D lineman there, tight end, big men. I'm the most
Mm-hmm.
familiar. I spent the most time with offensive, defensive linemen, tight ends in my career, and then probably the quarterback was the next. But quarterbacks are their own animal. I got no business training those guys.
Yeah.
So I'm just super excited about kind of the old school mentality without getting too guru-y and the trying to get Instagram likes. Well, did you see the I didn't see it, but did you see, somebody told me the other day that, and I'm not trying to, hey, the scout or coach out there that did this, I don't need you emailing me, but the two, I think Ohio State has like 2 first rounders at tackle coming off the board. And somebody told me that at their pro day they had them like jumping in a circle and then kick sliding. Did you see it?
I think I saw the clip. Those kids, those kids can move.
They're
Those are
studs.
like 6'8". You see how fast they move?
They're
Those
they're
kids
freaks.
are moving.
They're absolute freaks. They're already going in the first round. Just watch the tape. Both of them are studs. It's like, why are we jumping in a circle? Like, at what point in a football game has anyone ever jumped in a circle before they had to kick slide? That's when you're in the oh crap moment and you're just trying to dive to keep Matt Ryan from getting his head destroyed. But
Yep.
and
I
I know
always
with
wonder
this,
with those drills, is it like, I think it's, you can, physicality is such a point with evaluating offensive linemen. So like you see those things, like I always would love to go into like a scout's mind, right? Like, so like
yep.
obviously development and training, like I wonder what they're looking and evaluating for. Is it like fluidity? Is it movement? Is it like, you know what I'm saying, at these pro days? Because like you can see a guy move through a bag. Like I wonder what they're actually evaluating through that process. You know what I'm saying?
100%. That was, you know, I don't have much knowledge on ballet or softball or art. I can't even draw a cat. All right, for my kids when we play Pictionary, right? It's horrible. So, but I'm pretty educated in blocking people, right? And sometimes when we get away from the basics and like, buddy, trying to figure out like, because I did the combine training. I know how to teach these guys to be pros. I know how to teach these guys how to block people at the next level. I know how when maybe there's one little thing that I'm a little off on, I know to call Jake Matthews like, hey man, right here at left tackle when this happens, what do you think? And 99% of the time he's going to tell me what I was already thinking, but that 1% he's going to say something that sticks in my brain forever and helps me help these kids here.
Mhm.
But when we get to the end of this process, it's like I've been teaching them how to play pro football for the last 8 to 10 weeks. Now it's time to get ready for pro day, right? Buddy, I'm just pulling stuff out of my butt because I got no idea what these scouts are going to do. Like,
Mhm.
they got tennis balls on the ground. They're pulling and picking up tennis balls. They're jumping in circles. We're doing all this stuff. And it's like, I'm with you. I'd like to talk to these. And I understand what they're doing. They're trying to see these kids move. They want to see how athletic they are. And it's the underwear Olympics is all it is. And
Right.
it's like, I'd like to just pick their brains and ask, like, hey, man, when I'm training these kids, and I'm just literally hoping and dreaming because there's no way to know what O-line coach is going to be there. And these are Power 5 kids. I'm not. It ain't like I'm training kids from no name colleges and I'm worried about what one scout is going to be at their pro days. These are big time dudes with 4 or 5 draft picks in the room at these pro
Right.
days, and
Yeah.
they're doing some of this wild stuff, and I'm just praying. I'm telling the kids, like, man, there's no way for me to know what y'all are going to do, so I'm going to put you through like a mock pro day, and we're just going to do a random mishmash of stuff. And
Mhm.
I got lucky on a few of them. The guys were like, man, I'm so glad we did that because we did it, and I was actually comfortable doing it, and none of the other guys were. But it's just because I got lucky, Chris. I didn't
Right.
know. And it's
Right.
what in the world is the point of some of this stuff? But most importantly, just impacting youth and then kind of living in this combine land. It's like Duke Manyweather out in Texas. Like, he is absolutely killing it. He's got everybody, and he's doing great things. And the O line position is just every team starts with the O line, and I'm just so excited about going on this journey and helping kids from 11 to 14, from 14 to 18, and obviously these combine guys getting them ready for the NFL. And I would love for you to be a part of it with me when you're done playing, bro, for real.
Yeah, no, I would love that. And like I think a lot of what you said too is like there's two different things. There's preparing for your pro day and then there's preparing to be a lineman in the NFL. Like
Absolutely.
uh the training I do now in year, pretty much right after year one, like there's no and you definitely felt this too as a blocking tight end. Like there's no offensive lineman. Now, granted, there's some genetic freaks out there, but like you're not physically prepared for the violence that the NFL is coming out of college. Like I don't care what level of college you played at. Like you go to your first training camp, you see a dude who's 30 years old, has 2 kids, and has been bounced around the block. Like that guy has a certain power and anger and like strength behind every move that he's doing. And there's definitely a huge shift and adjustment in that when you get to the NFL, especially playing in the trenches and inside. But I was super fortunate that Alex Mack is going to be a Hall of Famer. I was able to play 2 years with him, and one of the biggest things, like you said, like the one nugget, right? Jake gives you, like, this is one thing that I took from Alex was playing offensive line is really, really boring. Being a great offensive lineman is really, really boring, and it's consistency is the biggest thing with offensive linemen. Like the splash plays, like there is no splash plays for offensive line. Like it's all consistency and your mechanics and technique is the biggest thing. So like understanding what's going on and then understanding what's going on so you know which tool to use, but you only have 4 tools that you use for everything. It's just like,
Yep.
all right, what's the defensive lineman's alignment? I have to set inside out, right? To his inside number. I got to get there. Where's this alignment? How am I going to get there? What is he trying to do? I'm taking away inside move no matter what. He's either going to go through me or to my outside edge. Like, boom. Like, that's your plan going into
Yep.
every single thing a pass run. There's so many details into run, but the drills and mechanics are so basic. And it's like the Bruce Lee quote where it's like, one kick 10,000 times instead of 10,000 kicks once. Like,
Yep.
that's offensive line play. And like, using those fundamental tools. And like the biggest thing to stress to like young kids and young athletes is, you're an athlete. Like these big guys inside, like yes, they have size, but there's guys from 6 foot who play in the NFL inside to 6'8", freak athletes. but like the thing they all have in common is they can all move. They're all athletes. So, like they're not just big guys. So there's that athletic, you know, foundation behind it. And each guys have their own skill sets. Each guys have their own abilities. Each guy can. There's a job to get done at the end of the day, and each guys can put their own spin on it to get it done. But like, there's a fundamental, like, you're an athlete as a big guy, and then your technique really can get shaped and molded and adopted um, the more you go, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense, and that's my message down here, and it will be forever. Like I'm never gonna get guru-y and get Instagram likey on O line training, coaching, whatever you want to call it. It's like, hey man, these four tools you have to be as close to perfect as possible. It's no different. I'm a terrible golfer, right? I'm a bogey golfer, right? If I break 100, I'm happy. If I hit a ball in the woods, I drop one out of my pocket and I don't lose a night of sleep. I used to throw my whole bag in the lake. Now I've grown, right? It's like, all right, there's water that way. I don't care if I hit it 2 fairways away to the right. I just can't hit it to the left. Like
Right.
it's not that much different in pass protection. Like there's one place you can't let this dude go. And if he ends up 2 fairways the other way, great. So some of the little things like you're talking about, I have to get my body here so that guy doesn't go there. It's not complicated, and we're sure not going to be jumping in circles to get there, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
you have to master these things, and guess what? These four things that are the boulders, we'll worry about the pebbles when you conquer the boulders. But even these boulders are shaped a little different for Chris Lindstrom than they are Caleb and Grary. Like it doesn't mean that you have to jam a square peg in a round hole on these four boulders and these four pillars of O-line play. They're going to look different for the 6'8" guy than the 6-foot guy. They're going to look different for the high cut guy with long legs and a short torso than they look for Chris Lindstrom. You know, Gabe Jackson, who I played with in Oakland, who's just a grizzly bear. Like,
He's
even
so
though,
strong.
oh, so by God, let's use his strength. Let's not try to
Yeah.
make him Chris Lindstrom. Let's not try to make Chris Lindstrom Gabe Jackson. But those
Yeah.
pillars got to be they got to be as close to perfect as possible. Like I used to tell young players all the time, bro, earmuffs. Like when I would be talking about something with a veteran, I would tell my young tight ends, earmuffs. You got to conquer the boulders before I can start teaching you all these little veteran tricks of the trade. Learn how to block a six technique, and then I'll teach you how to do certain little things. But if you're thinking about getting cute before you know how to block a six technique, you're going to be in trouble.
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
and that so I'm with you, man. And that's the Scarnecki way, huh? The
Yeah, man. And I'm super fortunate that I get to, work with him. But it's like the general, inside out, I two hand punch almost everything. And, so like, just like, I think you have to understand yourself, right? As a
Yep.
player, you need to know what your strengths and weaknesses are and then how that relates to the scheme. And so, myself, like I'm 6'3" and change, 300, 302, somewhere in that fluctuation zone. Like I'm strong, but I'm not NFL strong. Like I'm not, if you were to percentile it out, I'm average to below average in strength. So like the biggest thing I try and use is my tools that I've been given. So like I try and eliminate space, right? Like I'm a pretty good athlete. I try and eliminate space on guys while still keeping the same principles that you can, no matter, like you said, the boulders, like no matter what happens, you have to be inside out. You have to take a good set, and you can't screw your buddy. Like, I don't want to take a set that's jeopardizing Caleb because, the old joke, like, got my guy, like, got my
Yep.
gap, you know what I mean? Like, but hey, you messed up, everybody behind you. So, like, keeping it dialed in like that, but then knowing your strengths. So, like, I two hand punch everything. And then now I'm just starting to get to the point where my counters aren't changing my principle. My counters are, hey, like this guy knows I jump set. I put a jump set on film for 5 straight weeks now. Like when I set nose to nose on this guy, that guy's going to throw a two-hand, double swipe on me. Like, just be a tiny bit more patient. Like it's like throw off timing more than it is like principles or thing. Or like I don't one hand punch, but if I do, it's not like I just threw a right hand. Like it's like bop bop. You know what I mean? It's
Yes.
it's pretty much a two hand, but it's like simultaneously. And there's so many. and that's the cool thing about offensive line. And the more you know, like it's a continuing education, right? So like you're never you no matter how much you or however long you play, you don't know it all. You don't have all the answers. You never have all the answers. You can take anything from everybody. Like I listen to college kids who come out, like maybe they got something cool that their college coach, but hearing it and say, can I apply that to myself? No. Or hey, that's a cool thought, but like it doesn't fit what we're trying to do. You know what I mean? But you have to have that understanding of everything.
100%, and that's where I'm coming from in everything I'll do. And like I said, man, you're in your prime. You're going to play 15 years, so I'll be 50 years old probably when you retire. But I can't wait until you you transition out, because I want to, number one, be around you more, and number two, just go on this journey with you. I'm not saying you're going to move to Knoxville, Tennessee, but there's just so many cool things we can do to impact these kids, whether it's a camp circuit, we do one in Boston and one in Knoxville, or whatever, and just love on these young old linemen. But the two-hand punch and conquering the pillars got you to 105 million, brother. Right? Like then, like you said, the continuing education as you become a veteran, it's like, all right, Fletcher Cox or Aaron Donald or some of these studs, man, they're gonna know that I two-hand punch. They're gonna know that I said inside out, watching their tape, blah blah blah. Like as you get older, you start to add a tool to your tool belt. I see, in my opinion, a lot of young players try to go into a game with 50 tools when they don't know how to master the first four. Mm-hmm. And that was something in early in my career is like, I'm going to get really good at a few things and be dominant, and I might lose one or two times a game, but that's going to be it. And then after I dominate and conquer these pillars, those things that get me that 1% to 2% of the time, now I'm going to develop those other tools and those little offset 1-2 stuff or flashing hands or jump setting guys that I got no business jump setting. They would just never expect it, based off a film study and some things that I've gotten beat at over the last 2 or 3 years. Like I kept a running clip of every time I lost. Like what's the consistencies in when I lose? Now I got to try to fix that. But until I'm great and dominant at these things, I don't know. Like I said, I just worry about some of the guru guys and some of these young players, because that's sometimes I'll hear even vets talking to young players. I'm like, he can't do that yet. Yeah, you can. Right. Jake Matthews is the perfect example. Joe Thomas is the perfect example. It's the same set every time. And who's beating them, Chris?
No.
Like you watch Tyson Fury box. Guess what? Everyone knows that he's going to punch you with his right hand.
Right.
And he still figures a way to punch people with his right hand. So it's like, Be great, man. Be great at your jab. Be great at your uppercut. Be great at those few things that are going to help you win boxing matches in football terms. And then as you get older, develop all those little offset veteran things, especially when your body starts letting you down. You ain't got no other option.
Right.
So anyways, that's awesome, man. Well, I can't wait till you come up here and see me, and I'm going to keep picking your brain about certain little things. I called Zach Street the other day, the O-line coach for the Broncos. I don't really know Zach, but just picking his brain on a few things, just making sure, hey, everything I'm doing he agrees with some of these young linemen that are here. What does he want to see? Being a former player at such a high level for a long time, now that he's on the coaching side, and just trying to get with as many guys as I can that I respect that have played the game at a high level, just to make sure that I'm always, and sometimes we might not agree on everything, but make sure that the dudes that did it at such a high level, I'm speaking the same language as what they would speak. Talk to me real quick, final closing remarks. You see your old crazy buddy that you played with for 1 year. What do you think about this Triple F deal, man, from the outside looking in? Talk to me about it. Talk to me about what I ask everybody this. Tell me what I'm not doing right. Give me some feedback. Give me some hard love. What do you think about it, man?
Well, it was cool, right? So, I was fortunate enough to, one, meet you and then get to know you while you were kind of developing Triple F, right? So, one of the coolest and I think one of the most important things, guys exiting is guys have a hard time finding themselves again, right? Like when you leave the NFL, this is your identity. This is one of the things that the player, NFL football player is my identity right now. And like, trying to build aspects outside of that and then, life after football, right? And so it was super cool to hear you talk about this, develop this plan, right? You had this idea and talking through how you executed it, how great your staff is in executing it. And that was awesome to see. And then not only see that plan, see you actually follow through and execute it and then have success along the way, right? Have success in it. And no one's surprised in that with knowing you and how you work and your ability to connect with people. I think that's probably, your greatest skill is being able to connect with people and making everybody feel important. Um, but then you look, right, like you do so many great things. Like, you have the marketing aspects great, but then your product is number one. I remember one of the most important things that you were telling us just in the locker room, you're like, this is, you have to be appreciative of what you have in the NFL, right? Like we have top of the line training facilities. We have top of the line recovery, staffing, everything like that. And then you had that idea of bringing that top of the line product and making that available to kids who normally, would never even dream of having that unless they got to a Division I facility. But like, there's some kids that don't have that tool. So I feel like the kids that are going to your facility, you know, they're getting an advantage, or at least, if anything, they're getting a quality experience, right? So like, they're putting their best foot forward in terms of their training and stuff like that. And again, this is me seeing it, semi from a distance, but like, it's really cool. And if anything, it's the experience and the journey, really. And then you have kids like, be the best version of yourself, and like, don't see, your story or my story or somebody else's, like, don't put those expectations on you. It's the same thing with parents. Like, let your kids be, let them enjoy being in middle and high school and being multi-sport athletes, enjoy training, embrace it. And I feel like that's one of the really cool aspects that I get to see that you do, is like, it seems fun for everybody, and it's still that professional kind of experience, which is really cool.
Man, oh man, gives me chill bumps. Your approval and your love and kind words, man, mean a lot to me, bro, for real. And I love you more than you will ever know. You touched my life in a short time. I'm excited for you not to see it at a distance, for you to get in the building. Dinner on me, no matter how much money you have now. I'll take you and your bride out to, we'll go to Applebee's or something. I'm on a fixed income nowadays.
You sound like my father.
Yeah, bring your dad with you. Tell him to come on down. So we'll go to Chili's. We'll go to Chili's.
I love Chili's.
Chili's is
Love
the
it.
best.
Can't go. Chili's is the best of those pub. That chain. It's by far number one. And I'll debate
100%.
anybody on that.
100%. Tommy Sweeney, my guy, Chili's fanatic. So
Yeah.
100%. We'll go to Chili's. Sorry for all the Applebee's owners out there. We're going to Chili's. And dinner on me. I can't wait to see you. Can't wait to have you in the facility. And I love you, man, for real. Thanks for coming. I could talk to you for 2 more hours. So this won't be our last one together.
I have no idea how much time went by either. I just love you. I love hanging out.
I love it, man. Hey, congrats, bro, for real. I love you. Give your bride, soon to be bride, a big hug for me, and I will see you soon.
All right, Lee. Love you, brother.
All right, man. Love you, bro. See you.